Good evening. Remarkable progress from last month's reconstructions, all as a direct result of viewers' calls. And tonight we're reporting back on some of the appeals which have now led to convictions.
Of over 500 arrests through Crimewatch, 2/3 have already led to convictions, and 1 in every 10 of them is for murder. On Crimewatch, we usually have to hold back details when someone's been arrested so we don't preempt their trial. And the frustrating thing is, you never get to hear some of the fascinating stories. Tonight, we're going to put that right.
These cases are usually the toughest crimes to crack. Last month, the appeal about the Russell murders produced some riveting new information. We can't say any more than you've seen in the news or read in the papers, but the new developments are as a direct consequence of one of the 1,000 calls to Crimewatch. This remains what detectives call very interesting lines of inquiry, but they are still appealing for more information.
There's more to tell you about later, but as we promised in this special programme, we're going to report back on details that we couldn't previously reveal. First, a case solved by viewers that had dogged police for 11 months. A series of crimes involving a man who'd been befriending families and then systematically betraying them.
Yes, come on!
Hello, hello.
My daughter and a friend came to the door, and I really thought she'd been up to mischief, you know.
Look at me. What's wrong?
When I realised my daughter had been assaulted, I just went hysterical, totally hysterical. I remember that I hugged Sally after. Then I looked into her eyes and I knew it wasn't her I was blaming. I was blaming myself for what had happened to her.
The victim interview suite in Havant, Hampshire.
Because of the nature of the offence and the seriousness of it, and also the sensitivity and the effects that it has on the family, it has to be handled in a sympathetic way, but also in a very professional way. By doing that, you then give the child the best opportunity when it comes to court case, and also of locating the offender.
The family had known the man as Raymond Hodgson. He'd offered to take swimming their daughter and 2 of her friends with whose family he'd been staying. 2 of the girls said he'd sexually abused them.
You're doing very well, Sally. Are you okay?
Yes.
Fine. So you slept 2 times round at Katie's house. What we discovered about Raymond Hodgson was that he got previous convictions for indecent assault on young girls. He'd been to prison for the rape of a girl. He was a man that had to be caught as soon as possible.
But he escaped. When police called at his flat, though, he'd left behind incriminating evidence. He'd photos and even videos of himself with children. Most were on seemingly innocent excursions, but some were plainly exploitative and indecent.
We quickly established that 3 other children were involved, one of whom, the 7-year-old girl, was featured on video footage of him on holiday with the family at Butlins. The allegations were offences of indecent assault, gross indecency, inciting a child to acts of gross indecency, and taking indecent photographs of her. We were dealing with a very dangerous man who was deliberately and calculatedly abusing young children. We circulated the car that he escaped from Basingstoke in to all police forces, and what happened was that he abandoned the vehicle in Cambridge and sent the keys back to the company.
From Cambridge, he seemed to vanish. In fact, he fled to Lancashire and bought a boat. He lived on it at times, or in a caravan, and befriended a group of local families. In August 1995, he took some of their children for an adventure on his yacht.
There you go.
Thank you. Needed that.
Please, can I sleep in the tent with them tonight?
No, I've told you there's no room. You've got to stay on the boat. Come on.
At his insistence, the youngest girl was made to sleep with him on his yacht.
Night, Helen!
Liverpool Coast Guard, Liverpool Coast Guard. This is Peel Bravo. I have a problem here. I've got a bloke interfering with some kids. Could you get Barrow Police to meet us at Roe Island Jetty? We'll meet them there. Our ETA, 10 minutes.
We established that they'd been brought up here by a man that they knew as Ian Peter Devine. Our immediate concern was for the safety of the children, and then obviously we were concerned that the perpetrator may reoffend, but the problem that we had at that stage was we just had no idea where he had gone to.
Once again, he fled. But now police were searching for a man called Ian Peter Devine, with no way of linking him to earlier offences. 6 days later, he briefly turned up again in Lancaster and took 2 girls swimming, though at the time neither divulged that anything was wrong.
I got introduced to him as Ian Devine, and he was working with my friend's husband at the time for a charity group.
Hello there. Hi, Ian.
Hello.
They've obviously had a good time.
Ah, we've had a laugh. Hey, by the way, I'm going away tomorrow for a couple of days to see my mum in Ireland.
Oh, right.
I'll call round before
That was the last I actually saw the guy. I always thought I was a good judge of character and I knew what I was looking for in different people.
Come along, you two. Let's get indoors, get this hair dried. Come on.
Meanwhile, back in Hampshire...
Raymond Hodgson had been on the run for 11 months. I applied for and got permission to put him on the BBC Crimewatch programme, but nobody could have anticipated what was going to happen next.
Trace a suspected child molester. Raymond Hodgson is wanted in connection with a serious paedophile attack. In the last 5 years, Raymond Hodgson has lived in Merthyr Tydfil, Dorset, East Anglia, the Midlands and Hampshire, and he may have been somewhere in Scotland. This is a home movie taken a year ago, but Raymond Hodgson also took part in a promotional video where you can hear his voice.
Yet again, he fled 20 minutes before police arrived.
One of our appeals was to trace a suspected child molester, Raymond Hodgson.
I hadn't watched the main programme. My friend rang me, told me to watch the update.
That's Ian. It's Ian.
70 calls so far, many of them giving information which is significant. The police will be following that up. If you have seen this man...
I wanted to deny it. I didn't want to say to myself that I'd put my children into that situation.
I know that man on the bumper cars. His name's Ian Devine. He's got a boat called the Hartman. He keeps it in Lancaster. My children have been with him on it. Please.
We had calls come flooding in from the northwest, people recognising the photograph as a man called Ian Devine, who'd been living in that area.
Do you understand what telling the truth means?
Yes.
Can you explain to me in your own words what telling the truth means?
Means not telling any lies.
That's right.
Lancaster 672643. Hello? Ian? Hello? Well, we won't actually be around. We're going away for a couple of days. Yeah. Look, why don't you give me your address and we'll send you a postcard.
He never gave me the address. The only thing that was going through my mind was what I was told to act cool, calm and collective and try and get him. Because if I panicked, he'd run. And I knew I couldn't do that for my children, other children really.
Okay,
and
I will. Bye.
After he'd phoned and I put the phone down, I rung the 1471 and got a number. And I went right through the directory to find out where this number was.
It turned out to be a public phone in Dorset. Was he now staying in the south again? But with so many leads to Crimewatch coming from Lancashire and Cumbria, for 5 days since the appeal, police had staked out the causeway to where Raymond Hodgson's boat had been abandoned. The wait eventually paid off.
216 to Barrow. Subject car in view now.
Crimewatch viewers had phoned in details of Raymond Hodgson's car, a red Fiat, and they even knew his number plate.
What's your name?
Robert Adams.
Robert Adams. I'm arresting you on suspicion of indecent assault.
The work started then, and it was quite sobering. We had other children to identify, children who we still haven't identified.
You don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, something you later
In
on.
March 1996, at Winchester Crown Court, Raymond Hodgson pleaded guilty to 16 offences. Judge Martin Tucker told him his sentence would be very, very, very long, and was intended to keep him in custody until his sex drive was considerably on the wane, if not altogether extinct.
I'm so glad she went to someone and spoke to someone, because that's all it takes. I am so proud of my daughter.
It's feared that other children who've been abused by Raymond Hodgson have never divulged what happened. When he went to prison, he had pictures of a dozen children whose identities remain unknown. If you've known this man and would like to speak to someone about him, call Newport Police on the Isle of Wight, 01983 528 000. That's 01983 528 000. And if you'd like to speak to somebody about any other case of child abuse, if you're a child yourself, call Childline. The number's free and it's easy to remember, 0800 1111. Raymond Hodgson was sentenced to 27 years imprisonment, which was cut on appeal to 19 years. Now with some faces that still need finding, here's Superintendent David Hatcher.
Well, even by Crimewatch standards, this is an extraordinary case. Take a look at Laura Doig from Coventry. She's 23, about 5'7" and slim with hazel eyes. And this is thought to be her boyfriend, Brett Griffiths, who's 27, very tall at 6'2", with brown hair parted in the middle and a glass left eye. Both of them are wanted in connection with the abduction of a teenage boy from Coventry railway station. He was taken to an isolated spot, stripped and then beaten with a hammer. These two might have information. If you know where they are, do call on 0500 600 600 or British Transport Police Direct on 0345 660 588. That's 0345 660 588. Now, two brothers wanted in connection with a killing. Last September, Terry Bush was attacked at the front door of his home in Islington, North London. He was pushed inside and stabbed to death. James and Anthony Byrne lived not far away, but promptly disappeared. It's thought they went to Ireland for a time. James is 56, Anthony is 42. Where are they tonight? 0500 600 600 or call the incident room direct on 0181 358 1751. That's 0181 358 1751.
More news on last month's reconstructions. There were 250 calls about a sex attack in Middlesex. Passers-by gave chase, but the offender got away. One of the callers to the studio was a police officer who thought he recognised the man. We can't say any more at the moment, but we will keep you updated. And two viewers in Cumbria thought they recognised the robber who'd been terrorising small branches of building societies throughout the north of England. Police went to holiday cottages in the Lake District, and a man has since been charged with robbery.
And news of an arrest from a reconstruction we showed back in April. It was the one about the rape of schoolboys in East Anglia, two separate incidents linked by DNA. The appeal evidently made a lasting impression on one viewer. A week later, he saw a man outside a fitness club in Essex and rang the local police. A man has since been charged with 2 rapes and 5 other crimes, including possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life.
In our first film tonight, we showed how Crimewatch viewers had helped to catch a sex offender. 3 police forces worked together to arrest the culprit. But in our next case, after our appeal, it was all straightforward. One crucial call, the right name, and a quick arrest. The crime was an unusual one in Britain, one that actually rarely succeeds here: blackmail.
When I opened the letter, I read the content of the letter and I thought, oh, this is not what I normally get. And my first reaction then was to ring my head office and speak to the security department. It was quite scary, really. You just don't know nowadays what's going to happen, and you know, we're looking around the store, and there could quite easily have been something in the store.
Earlier today, Tesco's in Dorchester received a demand letter for £500,000. This is a matter which clearly we've consulted with Tesco's, and today's briefing is a secret briefing. It's entirely a need to know. The letter itself speaks of incendiaries and explosive devices.
This threat of firebombs and explosive devices was handwritten in the name of Julie M. It asked for a birthday announcement in the local paper to signal that Tesco was responding to the threat.
You're naturally under pressure when you receive letters of blackmail. I mean, potentially, there was disaster around, you know, for a nationwide store.
More letters followed, more adverts in the local press, and by the time the blackmailer phoned in, the net was closing. 6 miles from Dorchester, in Weymouth. Phone boxes were put under surveillance, and though with hindsight police discovered that they'd seen the blackmailer, they couldn't have known it at the time. The box he wanted was occupied, and he walked on. Then suddenly, communication stopped. 2 months of police work followed. Attempts were made to match the criminal's handwriting, and every clue had to be checked. Could Julie M. have been a boat? The harbour master had never heard of it, but did he recognise the voice?
You know who this is? Now, we don't want another repetition of what happened.
No, I don't recognise it, no.
You do know.
No, sorry.
We know the reason.
When all else failed, eventually they turned to Crimewatch.
The decision to go to the media in a blackmail case is not without risk. We've done a lot of hard work, but we weren't getting our man. If you didn't catch the offender, he always had the opportunity of doing it again.
First, we're going to play you a tape. It's a telephone conversation between a supermarket manager and a blackmailer who threatened shoppers' lives if his demands weren't met.
Hello, Indo speaking. Yes, you know who this is. Now, we don't want another repetition of what happened on Wednesday night, do we?
His initial demands were sent by letter. Look carefully, you might recognise the handwriting. If you recognise any of the clues, please call the incident room in Weymouth on 0305 223 666. That's 0305, the code for Weymouth, 223 666.
Hello, is that the Weymouth incident room?
Hi, Jeff. You okay?
We've had a really interesting call giving us the name of a chap called David Laws. We think he's living in Weymouth, and I've put some observations on the most likely address.
And that was it. The man police had seen before outside the phone box.
That's 25, please.
Hello, David. How are you?
Steve upstairs. Christian,
I'll go upstairs.
I'll go to the kitchen.
Once he'd been arrested, officers conducted a search. We found an envelope which matched very much the one that he'd used to send letters to Tesco's, and we found examples of handwriting too.
Guys, I think we got our man.
I really felt that it was one of the best examples that I've known of the police, the public, and the media all cooperating together to crack crime, and I felt really pleased about it.
At Dorchester Crown Court, David Laws pleaded guilty to blackmail and was sentenced to 6 years.
Now an appeal about a man found dead with gunshot wounds, but near the summit of a Scottish mountain. This is him, or rather, since he was badly decomposed when found, this is an ingeniously reconstructed image of him. It was put together by the forensic artist Di Cullington of Missing Persons Helpline. Have you any idea who he is? He was found at almost 1,200 metres, that's about 4,000 feet up Ben Alder in the Central Highlands, about 35 miles south of Aviemore. Now, he wasn't dressed for mountaineering, he was wearing city shoes and slip-ons at that. But he did have some maps and a compass, and he was wearing a waterproof jacket, similar to this one. It came from France, and interestingly, so did his sleeping bag and his watch. and he was shot with a weapon like this one, which is a modern replica of a Colt revolver, made in Italy, but again widely available in France. He was found in June last year, but he might have been dead for up to 12 months, which could take us back to the summer tourist season of 1995. He was 45 to 55, fairly small, around 5'6". He was slim and had uneven teeth. If you've any idea who he is, or was rather, do call us right away, 0500 600 600. Alternatively, you can call the Missing Persons Helpline on a sister number, 0500 700 700. That's 0500 700 700. Or call Northern Police Direct, 01 479 810 222. Or if you're calling from outside the UK, here's the number. It's the access code 44 479 810 222. And now here's Detective Constable Jackie Hames.
Maybe you can help with a crime so extensive, Humberside Police have set up a coordinated inquiry to tackle it called Operation Richmond. A network of villains are using stolen credit cards. There may be as many as 70 offenders involved, and this is one of them. Here he is trying to obtain cash in Scunthorpe. He's somewhere around 40, small to medium height, but stocky build. Half an hour earlier, same con, same town, different travel agents. This is another suspect at a bank in Driffield in Humberside. He's 6 foot tall, slim with dyed blonde hair. And last September he had a bandage on his left hand. Was he injured or perhaps disguising a tattoo? It's thought these men come from the West Midlands and travel out to steal and then defraud. Call us if you know them on 0500 600 600 or call the incident room on 01724 274 261. That's Scunthorpe 274 261. Incidentally, there's a crime prevention message here. These stolen credit cards and cash came from wallets and handbags left unattended at work, often over lunch. So if you've got valuables, lock them up, or better still, take them with you. Now, a rather good picture of a rather bad attempt at deception. This is the offender. She's in a building society in Finsbury Park, North London, and not looking too happy. The cashier had realised something was suspicious and impounded her savings book. Quite right too, it had been stolen in a burglary the previous day. So who's the woman? She's in her mid-30s, about 5'4", and note her hair. It's cut into a bob with copper streaks. Maybe they're extensions. 0500 600 600 or call the Metropolitan Police direct on 0181 733 6638. That's 0181 733 6638.
Next, a case that shows how even quick results are often a combination of help from Crimewatch viewers and persistent detective work by the police. This is another report back on a case. It took 2 separate appeals on Crimewatch, and the arrest came within hours of the second programme. Over 3 years, the crimes caused a huge amount of suffering, with many people, most in their 80s or 90s, losing their life savings.
Mrs. Bannerman? Elsie Bannerman?
Yes, who's that?
Please, dear, could you open up? D.S. Tompkinson, Plumstead CID.
Oh, what have I done now?
No, don't worry, it's nothing like that. Can I come in? Thank you. In here?
Yes, yes. Can I get you a cup of tea?
No, I wouldn't get anywhere, would I? Sitting drinking tea all day. Have you seen any of these?
Well, yes. I got my pension yesterday.
Oh, yes. Was it at the local post office?
Yes.
Well, there's been some forged notes circulating from there recently, and I've been checking them all out. Can I see yours?
Is it all right?
Let me see. Do you have any more in the house? I'll need to see all of that. This doesn't look good, Mrs. Bannerman. I think it all needs to be checked out. I need you to come to the station with me and we can replace this for real money.
What, now?
Yes. My car's parked round the corner. While I go and get it, you go and get yourself ready, get your coat on, whatever, and I'll have you back here in half an hour, all right?
From the end of 1992, a series of these crimes was linked by computer to one man who had form for distraction burglaries, John Baldock.
We identified Baldock as being responsible very quickly. He had been imprisoned in 1990 for approximately 30 similar offences. The method was always the same. The victims were always the same. So when we found out that he'd been released from prison, we knew very quickly who we were looking for.
Well, he seemed to almost hypnotise you. Do you know what I mean? I felt numbed, you know, and because it was a shock. It was 12:30 in the day, and you don't expect things like that in broad daylight.
To me, I trusted everybody. But now, I mean, you can't.
Right, if I can take a look at him, madam, OK?
One day he'll be in North London.
Same old story.
And the next day it'll be down on the south coast or Southampton. It became very frustrating.
I'll be back for you in 5 minutes.
4 area crime squad.
Tell me, we checked the passport office, the amenities, the gas and electric, the social security, and a number of other inquiries that are available to us. And all of them just gave us a blank.
This is John Baldock. We believe he may have information about a series of fraudulent deceptions involving thousands of
The first Crimewatch appeal was followed by a good deal of national coverage, but John Baldock remained elusive. He avoided his former friends and haunts, and even when his father died, he failed to turn up at the funeral.
Can't see him, unless there's another car.
Hello. That's a nice little machine you've got there.
It's nice, but it's getting a little worn out.
Oh, I don't know. I bet there's plenty of people jealous of you.
I remember how friendly he was, and I thought how nice, especially when he said he was a policeman.
I'm a police officer. Have you got a minute?
Yes, of course. Come in and make a cup of tea. All right, come in. Wipe the feet.
Really and truly, he would have made a marvellous policeman. He looked the part. I didn't doubt his word at all.
So, you're here on police business?
As a matter of fact, yes. There's been some forged notes coming out of the local post office. Have you had any from there?
No.
There's been a few break-ins around the area as well. Where do you keep your money? I mean, is it safe?
Well, I think it's safe.
Even though he was a policeman, I thought, well, I'm not going to discuss finance with him, so I didn't tell him where I was keeping it or if I had any. And he had his tea and his cakey, and he went again.
Hello, I was just in the area. I thought I'd see how you're getting on.
Oh, fine, thank you. Come in for some tea.
No, I'm really pushed for time. I'll see you again soon. OK, you take care.
Well, the last time he came, he said, I'm in terrible trouble. I've left my wallet in my other pocket.
£10.
Can you lend me £10? I was sorry for him. I thought, oh, goodness, yes, of course I can.
I don't suppose a cup of tea's out of the question.
Of course. What kind of host am I? Won't be long.
Naturally, I was in a terrible state. You can't really explain it. I trusted him. I thought he was a genuine policeman.
By June 1995, more than 100 of these thefts had been reported to the police.
They were all within a very, very short walking distance from railway stations. It became apparent that there was a line that went non-stop all the way through the City of London, as far south as the South Coast. Basically, that's the Thameslink line.
Then there was a stroke of luck.
Look, we know you want to help, but nothing you've said to us so far leads...
An informant who herself had been arrested on suspicion of a crime saw pictures of John Baldock and tried to bargain.
He's a gay guy, yeah?
Yeah, well, we think so.
Well, he is. Met him in a club in Brighton. Seemed all right. Buying everyone drinks. Got a tattoo on his hand, right?
The spanner in the work was he had a tattoo on his hand, and that didn't fit. But a lot of the other information that she gave us did fit. John Baldock, we believe, was homosexual. Brighton has a large gay community. We believe that he was travelling by rail, and the Thames Link has a direct line into London. So we believe that Baldock could well have been living in Brighton and decided to concentrate our inquiries here.
Hi, police from London. I wonder if you can help us, please.
Yeah, have you seen this guy?
It's quite normal for a person in one bar or one club to say, yeah, I saw him in this bar or that pub.
I'd say he's definitely been in here, yeah.
Or they might mention other people that they knew that may also have known John Baldock.
Here's trouble.
Are you Frankie?
And
What did I tell you?
we just follow those leads on from
Mr.
there.
Frankie,
And each time there may just be a snippet extra, but all the time we were just building up more and more knowledge surrounding his activities and what he was getting up to.
He hangs around with these young guys.
Names?
I think one of them's called Tony. Don't know his other name. Rides a motorbike.
Over the next few weeks, officers from the South East Area Crime Squad staked out many of the gay bars in Brighton.
Too young.
And frustrated when all that came to nothing, as reports of crimes kept coming in, an entire team of officers sat every day for a whole week at Brighton Station on the off chance that Baldock would pass through. When that proved a waste of time, they asked for a second bite on Crimewatch.
John Baldock first made his appearance in February of last year. As a result of viewers' phone calls, detectives just missed him. In fact, he'd left a message for them sprayed in shaving foam. He's believed to have committed over 200 offences of deception all over London and the South East. In fact, the last one was just yesterday in Dulwich. John Baldock is a keen fencer and is well known on the gay circuit, particularly frequenting clubs in Brighton. If you have any idea of where he is now, please do ring us tonight. The local police are on 0181.
I knew lots of people would ring in, but I didn't expect anything instant. But I did ring the office straight away anyway. And I spoke to one of the guys who told me that he had a very good lead and it was something worth following up straight away.
There he is.
In fact, the Crimewatch caller waiting for them was the start of the trail that would finally lead to an arrest.
Steve?
Yeah.
Get in. Where to?
Straight ahead.
He didn't know the name of the street where he'd seen Baldock, but he led the detectives on a half-hour drive to Worthing.
You recognise him at all?
Yeah, I've seen him. Came here a few times with a guy who lived here.
Well, he doesn't live here now?
No, moved a while ago.
What's his name?
Tony.
Last name?
Don't know, didn't know him.
Does he ride a motorbike?
Yeah, that's the one.
So where did he move to?
Still in Worthing.
So now on to the next address.
My name's DC Cornwall from the Metropolitan Police, sir. Sorry to disturb you this time of night. We're looking for somebody called John Baldock.
3 a.m. and it was the wrong house, but they were sure it was the right street. And at daylight, the day after Crimewatch, they were back.
Check this out.
Yeah, I'll pull over.
Hello, Lisa. It's Barry. Vehicle check, please.
As there was only one motorbike, it was easy just to check the one. And it came back to a guy that had appeared within the inquiry previously. So we thought we were getting very warm now.
Hold on, Bell. Was that him?
Could be.
No, sorry, someone's come out. I've got to go. I'll give you a bell. Keep it open, yeah? Andy, I think he's made me. I still don't know if it's him or not. You'll have to overtake him. He's gone left into Wickham Road. Now, where are you?
Yeah, I got him.
OK, Emily, let's check in.
Excuse me. I'm Andrew Buckle, detective from the Metropolitan Police in London. This is Barry Cornwall, my colleague.
Yeah.
Oh, you got the fly?
Yeah. We're looking for this man in connection with a series of burglaries in London in the southeast, John and Robert Baldock.
He didn't have the same appearance as the photograph that we had of John Baldock. The reason being is the picture that we had of John Baldock was, I think, 10 or 15 years old. And the guy that we had in front of us was a little bit thinner on top and older looking and put on a bit more weight. I don't believe you. John Baldock, you're under arrest on suspicion of burglary. You don't have to say anything. We decided, though, that we didn't believe his story and we arrested him. Anything to say, take down in writing.
You are John Baldock, aren't you?
Yeah, well done.
4 months later, at the Inner London Crown Court, John Baldock pleaded guilty to 139 offences of burglary and was sentenced to 7 years in prison. He's still inside.
I think he should get life. That's the honest truth. I mean, he'll only come out and do the same thing again, won't he? If he's done it once before, you do it, and twice you do it. I mean, he's not really safe, is he?
Well, there's nothing new about bogus callers. After all, they've been around since the invention of the front door. And there's a good deal you can do to make life hard for them.
If you can, look through the spy hole or front window to see who's calling before you answer the door. Always put the chain on before you open the door. And if you don't have a chain, well, think about getting one fixed. They really don't cost much. Bogus callers might claim to be from the council, water or gas companies or any other official organisation. Always ask to see their ID and check it carefully. Keep the chain on the door while you do this. If you're still not sure, well, ask the caller to come back later. You can always check their story out by calling the firm they claim to represent. And incidentally, it's best to take their telephone number from the phone book rather than from their ID card, or you could end up talking to the crook's accomplice. Some water, electricity and gas companies operate a password system, and you can contact your local branch to find out more. If you're not expecting a caller, if you're any way suspicious, and especially if they seem anxious or try to hurry or pressure you in any way, don't let them in. Dial 999 and tell the police. Remember, if in doubt, keep them out. Trust your instincts. Don't become a victim.
Incidentally, if you live in sheltered accommodation, it's a good idea to arrange a system for phoning others on the block if you've any doubts about a caller.
Yet more news from last month's programme. 3 of our video sequences led to arrests. After a terrible assault at a railway station in North London, 2 men were identified, 1 has been charged with wounding. And a man wanted almost everywhere from Strathclyde to the home counties was found after a viewer from Liverpool rang to say he knew him as a drinking pal and had his phone number. That eventually led to an address, and a man has now been charged with 17 counts of deception and burglary. And 2 men were identified on the night of our last programme about a deception involving stolen credit cards at an off-licence in South London. And remember this, Aladdin's Cave from June. 5 items were identified, and as a direct result, 9 people have been arrested and charged with conspiracy to handle stolen goods. Well, let's see what happens this month. Here's Eric Knowles.
Well, no shortage of paintings and prints on the cave this evening, including the original artwork for Bugsy and Betty. There they are, complete with pixie sailors and dating from the 1930s. And here are a pair of girls who would love to belong to that decade, but alas, they're modern-day copies. As for the perfume bottle, that's Czechoslovakian, and that's right, it's Art Deco, and just look at that stopper. Beautiful, beautiful moulding. Pair of Japanese vases, they make up in size what they lack in detail, but if you like detailed Japanese pottery, look at this Satsuma dish. It's all a bit sad, really, because it's a funeral, and everybody's crying their eyes out, and even that dear little elephant sobbing himself to death, poor little thing. But there's another little dish, perhaps a little bit happier. Beautifully decorated moths and butterflies against that fabulously gilt net. But let's move from Japan and let's go to lovely Lichfield and a long case clock by Holbeck. Brass face and a good solid British oak cabinet. There again, if you like your clocks to be that little bit smaller, here's a brass clock. It's Victorian and it's emblazoned with Wedgwood medallion portraits. Lovely piece of jasper work there. Over here, an interesting carving. It's full of Merry England, you might think. In actual fact, it's continental, but it's carved quite in high relief. Very, very elaborate. And there's no shortage of elaboration on this pair of chairs. They're South German or possibly North Italian, and just look at the inlay. Ivory, mother of pearl, stained woods, it's all there. It's all there too in a hall of silver, including a set of Falklands commemorative ware spoons and a pair of servers, the likes of which I have to admit I don't think I've seen before. But here is an object I've seen before, and I'm not really worried if I don't see one again. It's a mid-19th century surgeon's amputation kit. Now, just looking in there, there are instruments in there which, the likes of which I've not seen before, and I dread to think their purpose.
Well, if those instruments are yours, then you can call the police on 01707 335 500. That's 01707 335 500. Or call us here on 0500 600 600. The lines here to the studio are open until midnight, and other numbers are on CFAX, page 621. We're also on email at Crimewatch UK, that's cwuk@bbc.co.uk. And if you've information on any crime that we haven't covered, try Crime Stoppers, 0800 555 111.
And that's all for now. In fact, all for this special edition of Crime Watch tonight. There'll be no Crime Watch update this evening, but we'll be back with a full programme of appeals a month from now on Tuesday, the 2nd of September. Do join us then. And meanwhile, as we've shown tonight, calling Crime Watch really works. So thank you if you've done so. Don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.